If you are looking at your bank account and wondering why a standard mid-size sedan now costs more than a starter home did 15 years ago, you aren't alone. We are entering the summer 2026 car buying season, and the financial landscape is, frankly, a minefield for the average American family. Before you even set foot on a dealership lot or browse a single listing online, you need to understand the 2026 automotive reset. This isn't just about high interest rates anymore. We are currently navigating a systemic failure of global trade networks triggered by the effective closure of the Strait of Hormuz. When 21% of the world's petroleum liquids and nearly a quarter of global LNG are choked off at a maritime choke point, the ripples don't just hit the gas pump, they hit the very chassis of the car you're trying to buy. The U.S. researcher buyer, the person watching this right now, you are right to be terrified of depreciation. As of April 2026, Brent crude is hovering around $115 per barrel, a staggering 50% increase since the conflict in the Gulf escalated. This has sent gas prices screaming past $5 per gallon in most U.S. regions. For the first time in years, we are seeing true demand destruction. This is a phenomenon where the energy tax, the high cost of just moving your body from point A to point B, effectively kills discretionary spending. This is a financial protection guide because the car market isn't just slowing down, it's undergoing a structural reset that could leave you underwater on a loan faster than any time in modern history. Let's talk about the black box of the supply chain. You might hear a salesperson tell you that inventory is back to normal levels, but the data tells a different story. While new vehicle inventory has climbed to roughly 2.97 million units, up from 2.1 million in 2024, the quality and cost of that inventory are compromised. The blockade in the Gulf has severed supply lines for petrochemicals and industrial metals. Plastics producers have declared force majeure because they can't get the naphtha needed for ethylene and propylene. If you're asking, is the 2026 hybrid reliable? You have to look at what's under the hood. Specifically, look at the sulfur to metal dependency. Roughly 50% of seaborne sulfur comes from the Gulf. Without it, refining the nickel, cobalt, and copper needed for advanced sensors and batteries becomes 30% more expensive. This means manufacturers are facing a multiplicative effect, where one missing unglamorous input like sulfur or helium can halt the production of a $50,000 vehicle. When we look at the spec sheet for a 2026 midsize sedan, trim levels explained becomes a mandatory exercise in frustration. The manufacturer advertisements will show you a stunning 12-inch panoramic touchscreen, premium leather-trimmed seats, and a 10-speaker Bose audio system. But the base model reality is much grimmer. For the entry-level trim, which most buyers are now forced toward due to an average transaction price of $50,326, you're likely looking at a generic 7-inch unit, scratchy cloth seats, and plastic interior trims that feel remarkably cheap. There is a reason for this. Polypropylene prices jumped 24% in March 2026 alone. Manufacturers are cutting corners on interior materials to offset the skyrocketing costs of chassis and engine blocks. Owners in the forums are already reporting that these new interior plastics are prone to easy scratching and sun damage. Now, let's run the numbers, because math is the only thing that doesn't lie in an inflationary market. Let's compare a standard gasoline sedan against its hybrid counterpart. At $5 per gallon for gas, real-world MPG is the only metric that matters. If you drive the average 15,000 miles per year in a gas-only car, getting 30 MPG, you're looking at 500 gallons of fuel. At $5 a gallon, your annual fuel cost is $2,500. Now look at the hybrid version getting 50 MPG. You're using only 300 gallons, which costs you $1,500. That's a $1,000 annual saving. However, the hybrid surge in demand has pushed the hybrid premium to an average of $4,300 over the MSRP of the gas version. This means your payback period, the time it takes for the fuel savings to cover the extra cost of the car, is 4.3 years. If you plan on trading the car in 3 years, the hybrid math might actually fail you unless the resale value holds up. Compare that to the 2026 EV market. While you might think $5 gas would send everyone to electric vehicles, EV sales have actually cooled to a 6% market share, down from 7.5% last year. Why? Because the federal tax credits vanished in late 2025, and a flood of off-lease EVs is hitting the used market, causing a 10% collapse in used EV valuations. If you're looking at a 2026 EV, cost of ownership must include the fact that your fuel is cheaper, but your asset is melting away faster than a gas-powered car. When we look at performance, the numbers are equally telling. A typical 2026 hybrid sedan is putting out roughly 192 horsepower with a combined torque figure of 210 pound-feet. Compare that to a top-tier competitor like the 2026 turbocharged gas model, which delivers 250 horsepower but only 26 highway mpg. For the US researcher, the choice is clear. You're trading 0 to 60 thrills for financial survival. But be careful, dealers are currently stuck in a floor plan interest trap. Because interest rates are still high, it costs a dealer roughly $139 extra per unit just to keep a car on the lot compared to 2 years ago. If a car has been sitting for more than 60 days, the dealer is losing their entire profit margin to the bank. This is where you have leverage. Look for aged inventory, the cars that have been on the lot for 88 days or more, which is the current industry average supply. These are the units where the dealer is desperate to cut a deal to stop the bleeding. Common problems in 2026 aren't just mechanical, they're digital. As vehicles become more memory hungry, the average car now requires 270 gigabytes of memory and NAND memory, triple what we saw just 2 years ago. With the memory chip supercycle and helium shortages, helium is essential for semiconductor fabrication, the lead time for replacement parts for your infotainment or ADS systems can be months. If a sensor fails, your car might be a $50,000 paperweight while you wait for a chip stuck in a shipping container rerouting around the Cape of Good Hope. This reroute adds 14 days to every voyage and acts as a regressive tax on every part in that car. So, is the 2026 market going to crash? Not in the way you might think. We aren't seeing a 2008-style collapse, but rather a structural reset. Total sales are projected to hit 15.8 million units, a modest 2.4% decline. But within that number is a fragmented reality. Wealthy households are still buying luxury EVs and high-trim trucks. Meanwhile, lower-income buyers, who once made up 37% of the market, now account for only 20%. They're being priced out by auto inflation. Even if vehicle prices stabilize, the cost of owning and maintaining them has skyrocketed. Repair costs were up 6.2% last year, and insurance premiums have quadrupled in some tech-heavy regions because the cost of replacing a tech-heavy bumper is now astronomical. Now, let's run the numbers, because math is the only thing that doesn't lie. Here's your data-driven action plan. First, ignore the MSRP on the window. Look at the net floor plan expense the dealer is carrying. Ask how long the car has been on the lot. Second, do not pay a market adjustment for a hybrid. Yes, demand is surging, and dealers are asking $4,000 over MSRP in some cases, but if you pay that, you will never recoup that cost in fuel savings. Third, leverage the One Big Beautiful Bill Act if you're a small business owner. The Section 179 limits have increased to $2.5 million, allowing for significant write-offs if the vehicle is used for business. The car prices going up trend is a permanent shift, not a temporary spike. We're moving into an era where operational excellence is required not just from dealers, but from buyers. You have to be a disciplined operator. Manage your inventory, which in your case is the single vehicle in your driveway. Focus on fixed operations. Keep your current car maintained, because the service absorption at dealerships is what's keeping them afloat, and they're going to charge you a premium for it. In conclusion, the 2026 car market is a test of resilience. Between maritime blockades, chemical feedstock shortages, and a bifurcated consumer base, the data suggests that the best car to buy in summer 2026 is the one you've researched the hardest. Don't get caught in the hype of the summer car buying season. The purchasing power drain is real, and the energy tax is only getting heavier. Run your math, check the real-world MPG, and remember that in a market defined by strategic volatility, the person with the most data and the most patience is the one who wins. If you found this breakdown helpful, make sure to check out my other deep dives on the 2026 supply chain crisis. Stay safe, stay informed, and don't let the floor plan trap catch you off guard.